Hello and welcome back. Today we're talking about some eyebrow-raising headlines that further the case for de-dollarization. Driving the news is a major announcement from Brics that they are officially launching a new common currency. We'll give you the latest details and a summary analysis of the potential impact to gold and the US dollar. Stay tuned. Before we begin, please take a moment to support the channel by liking and subscribing. Thank you. For those of you who haven't been following along, and maybe this is new to you, we'll give a very brief summary of what's been going on. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency. The benefits to this are that we can raise as much capital as we need or wield sanctions against other countries as a political tool and as an alternative to war. Supporting this is the petrodollar agreement, which essentially made it mandatory to buy oil with US dollars, and in exchange the US would support Saudi Arabia. The world is not full of governments that are thrilled the US has this economic weapon, Russia being a chief example. Short history, Russia invades Ukraine, US hits them with sanctions and freezes their reserve dollars. The entire world sits up and takes notice. That event will be viewed by history as the beginning of the de-dollarization trend's accelerated advancement. The idea amongst adversarial governments is simple. They have to have a large amount of their country's wealth in US dollars in order to buy oil, but the US can freeze their assets. Well, what then? It puts governments around the world in a difficult position they will try to mitigate against. Deserved or not, right or wrong, this is a simple case of cause and effect. Now, the Brics coalition is an economic alliance between several member countries. The original members are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Although membership has recently expanded to include several oil-producing countries as well. A key goal of the alliance is de-dollarization, or in other words, reducing the world's usage and reliance on the US dollar for settling trade. Now, this would cripple the US economy, which has been built on unsustainable spending, and it would severely reduce the US's ability to interject in foreign policy with the threat of sanctions. Now, this is a big goal and one that cannot be achieved overnight. And a key criticism of the de-dollarization effort is that there is no alternative to the US dollar, so how could it be replaced? Now, we've discussed this in other videos, but there has been speculation for a couple of years that the Brics coalition would create their own common currency, and spearheaded by Russia's Putin, it appears this currency is officially nearing completion in its development. A big theory has been that the currency will be backed by a basket of commodities, including gold. The Brics nations are among the most ravenous gold buyers in the world, with China at the helm. However, with the official announcement of the currency's development in March of 2024, we have a little bit more information and a bit of a twist. The new currency will likely be blockchain-based and a digital currency. No news yet on whether it will be gold-backed. It also appears to be a common currency with goals larger than one limited to transactions between governments. Here's an official statement from the Kremlin. We believe that creating an independent Brics payment system is an important goal for the future, which would be based on state-of-the-art tools such as digital technologies and blockchain. The main thing is to make sure it is convenient for governments, common people, and businesses, as well as cost-effective and free of politics. An independent payment system usable by common people is a bit broader than a tool being used to settle international transactions with an agnostic commodities-based currency. Remember that the Brics coalition is formidable. Let's compare it to the G7 countries, which have been center stage in international politics for decades. The G7 countries account for about $46 trillion in GDP against the Bric nations' $30.8 trillion. However, the population of G7 countries is about 750 to 800 million souls, whereas the Brics nations represent over 3.3 billion people. If this common currency that's officially in development is adopted over time by over 3.3 billion people, that is going to have an undeniable impact. So the question on everyone's mind is, when is this currency launching? And the short answer is we don't know. It's meaningful that we have an official announcement verifying they're working on this currency, as just a short while ago, We heard from analysts that it was unlikely, and Brics representatives refused to make any statements. Now, the latest information we have is that the currency is nearly ready, and the remaining factor is political consent from 2 remaining Brics nations. Now, if we had to take a guess, India is probably one of the holdouts. They've said in the past they want to improve the rupee's adoption and not launch a new currency. However, they've been unsuccessful in the last year in gaining any traction. Despite some focused effort, there was very little appetite to exchange oil for rupees. It's possible they will abandon efforts to boost our local currency in favor of creating a common currency. So what does this all mean for gold? Well, there's a well-known correlation between the US dollar and gold. If the dollar weakens, gold's price rises. If demand for the dollar weakens due to the adoption of a common currency from Brics, we should see the dollar's value decline and gold's spot price rise in response. Now, if we assume the dollar correlation holds, this may create long-term headwinds for the US dollar and long-term tailwinds for the precious metal. Dethroning the dollar will take time, of course, and this competing currency has not launched yet. Viewers should consider this more of a long play that occurs over the span of years rather than weeks or months. We'll be keeping a sharp eye out for the official launch of the new currency. We note that when the euro launched and new notes were distributed, there was an immediate rebalancing of funds held by central banks. The dollar fell slightly, but then the euro continued to gain share over time at the expense of the US dollar. The euro now sits at about 20% of foreign exchange reserves. If history repeats, that pattern could be seen again. We'll be watching for an official launch date from Brics in the meantime, and for any shifts in Forex reserves when it goes live. That's all we have for you today. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.